At around the age of 50, Leo Tolstoy was overwhelmed by a profound inner crisis.
Why should I live? Why should I desire anything? Why should I do anything at all?
And this occurred at a time when, by his own account, he enjoyed a perfectly happy life. A loving wife, good children, a prosperous estate, and international renown for War and Peace and Anna Karenina.
Before I devote myself to the Samara estate, to raising my son, or to writing a book, I must first understand why I am doing it. The truth was that life is meaningless.
Tolstoy agonized over this search for several years, and in the end, he found the answer. It is largely for this reason that Romain Rolland, Anatole France, Bernard Shaw, Thomas Mann, and many other great minds regarded him as their teacher. In this video, I will tell you how and what exactly Leo Tolstoy discovered. To convey the horror of his existential crisis, Tolstoy recalls an Eastern parable.
A traveler, fleeing from a furious beast, leapt into a dry well, only to find a dragon waiting below with open jaws. Clinging to a wild bush growing from the wall, he hung helpless. Then he noticed two mice, one black, one white, gnawing at the branches. As escape became impossible, he spotted drops of wild honey on the leaves and began to lick them.
That is where the parable ends. Realistic, isn't it? Tolstoy saw himself as that traveler. Above, meaninglessness. Below, death. There is no escape, and the inevitable end is only a matter of time. All that remains is to taste the honey, but even that no longer brings joy.
Those 2 drops of honey, love for my family and for writing, which I called art, are no longer sweet to me.
Naturally, Tolstoy began to seek answers in books. YouTube did not yet exist in his time. He turns to Socrates, Schopenhauer, Solomon and Buddha. He turns to science, and everywhere he sees the same thing.
You are an accidentally formed little lump of something. The lump is decaying. This decaying lump calls itself its life.
Ultimately, Tolstoy concludes that there are only 4 possible ways out. Blissful ignorance, when you are still so young and naive that you see neither the beast, nor the dragon, nor the mice. Sensual pleasures, when you continue to taste the honey for as long as you live, especially if you happen to find plenty on it on the bush. Voluntarily exit the stage, and the way of weakness. This is when you realize that everything is meaningless, yet you continue to bear your burden, not even understanding why. Tolstoy placed himself in the 4th category.
I myself did not know what I wanted. I was afraid of life, sought to escape it, and yet I still hoped for something from it.
Several years passed in this way, but here is the thing. Tolstoy was a wealthy landowner. Many people worked for him in those days in Russia. They were called serfs. These were people of little formal education, yet of great physical strength, and Tolstoy regularly conversed with them. Gradually, Tolstoy arrived at a new question. Why should the opinions of Solomon and Schopenhauer be deemed more trustworthy than those of an ordinary peasant?
I cast my gaze more widely around me, and I saw such people, those who had grasped the meaning of life, who knew how to live and how to die, not 2, 3, or 10, but hundreds, thousands, millions.
It was through observing ordinary people that Tolstoy arrived at a new understanding of life. He illustrates this with the following story.
Imagine a man pulled from a crossroads and told to move a stick up and down. At first, he sees no meaning, only the motion. Over time, he learns the stick powers a pump, the pump draws water, and the water nourishes the garden. Then he's given a greater task, to grow a harvest for his master. Gradually, he understands more and more, and he certainly will not reproach the master, the one who is above him.
Curiously, in the original text, Tolstoy says, "Then he will be taken out of the covered well and set to another task." Do you understand which well is being referred to here? Ultimately, Tolstoy comes to the conclusion that there is a master above us, and this master is God.
We, the wise men, eat everything that belongs to the master, but we do not do what the master wants from us. Instead of doing it, we sit in a circle and reason. Why move this stick? After all, it is foolish.
But to arrive at the idea of God is not the same as to come to God. In his confession, he recounts that these inner struggles lasted for about 3 years. One day, early in the spring, he was walking through the forest conversing with himself. He tried to prove to himself that God did not exist, and in doing so, felt himself dying alone with him. And then he would argue the opposite and come alive again. Until suddenly, but no, let Tolstoy speak here personally in his own words.
And I recalled all those hundreds of times I had died and come back to life. I remembered that I lived only when I believed in God. So what more am I seeking? A voice cried out within me. Here it is. It is that without which one cannot live. To know God and to live are one and the same. God is life, and more powerfully than ever, everything was illuminated within me and around me, and this light never left me again.
I understand that Tolstoy's answer may seem banal in our time, but this answer was certainly not superficial. He spent years contemplating it. Years. And since this was the result of a personal quest, not a baptism in early childhood, Tolstoy sincerely accepted God, but absolutely did not accept the Church. He denied the divinity of Christ, the Church sacraments, the dogma of the Trinity, and did not believe in an afterlife. Even more dreadful, he did not approve of war.
At that time, a war broke out in Russia, and the Russians, in the name of Christian love, began to kill their brothers. I saw members of the church, its teachers, monks, and ascetics who condoned the killing of misguided, helpless youths, and I turned my attention to all that was done by people professing Christianity, and I was horrified.
As a result, in 1901, Tolstoy was officially excommunicated from the church. Naturally, this did nothing to alter his views. As he lay dying, aware that he would not recover from his illness, one of the things he deemed important was to articulate his definition of God for his daughter. This is that definition.
God is the unlimited all, of which man is a limited part.
In his youth, it was precisely this thought that tormented him and stripped everything of meaning. And in his maturity, it was also this thought which granted him peace and restored meaning to his life. The church never forgave Tolstoy for his apostasy. He was buried without a cross and without a gravestone. A strikingly paradoxical outcome for a man of faith. Subscribe. In this corner of the internet, I collect stories that still dare to ask why.